Alright, well this is my first video for davidwishmeyer.com. I'm going to go over a home theater I put together here about a year ago. I've recently done a bunch of upgrades. So this is going to be in the basement, obviously. These things are pretty large and take up a lot of space. Not something you normally see upstairs unless it's very much customized. First thing we'll go over, lighting. I got two lights down in this basement. And I just want to make a point to anyone else doing this stuff. When doing lighting, it's good to have a fader. So you can fade it down, either doing it through a remote, in this case mine's manual. However, this is iridescent. This is one of those new crappy bulbs, energy savers. When you fade, the new energy savers do not fade with it. You must have a iridescent bulb. Yeah. This does, if the other light wasn't on, give you a nice low lighting for movies, so it's very similar to how it would be in a theater. In this case, I don't usually need it. I can usually just turn it off. Also, I got a 7-in-1 speaker system in here. Pow, pow, chow, kapow, skadoosh. There you go. Got the subwoofer down the corner. I have an actual airport pointing out instead of against the wall in order to try and minimize the muffled bass sound. And these were all part of a package deal. They came with this particular Onkyo receiver. I had been mixing and matching for years with Polk Audio and Kiplish and different things like that. Here's a quick shot. Just has your normal inputs: TV, VCR, CD, satellite, volume. I got some inputs out and some different things on how to do digital input, output, stereo. Nothing too different than normal. I also got the Blu-ray player here. Now this one's done by Sony. I picked this one because it's very similar to the PS3 on the actual firmware and how it's used. And I really like the firmware on that. This originally sold for about $400. Picked this thing up for about $70 as a recertified unit from Tiger Direct. Good deal. Everything's in working order. All I had to do is update the firmware. Blu-rays play great. Connects to my home network so I can stream every video that I have on my network, which I believe right now is somewhere close to about 900 videos, both movie and TV. That'll be a different video. Let's take a quick look at the speakers here. Let's open this one just a tad so we can see what's behind it. If you look at there, we've got a mid-tweet, a small tweet. Looks pretty small, but these things pack some real punch. Subwoofer, it's a 10-inch sub, 500 watt amp sticking out on the back with dual inputs. Those do connect into the receiver as a dual subwoofer. And I got the left and right speakers mounted at about 3 feet off the floor, as most people will be sitting about 3 feet, or if we go with the bean bag, even lower. So I wanted to try to keep it at ear width, ear height, if I could. Center speaker got put up on top. Most of this is because of this guy right here. It's a Mitsubishi HT4000, and this sucker is pretty powerful little unit. It's got a manual focus. However, it does not have tilt shift, which means I have to mount it into exact position. With this, that puts it almost a whole 39 inches from the ceiling, or in this case from the actual center of the lens, which comes out to about 50 inches. It doesn't look like it. That comes up to about here, and that right there, that's almost 3 feet down. So the screen actually comes down to about here. You can see how far that is. So that's an awful lot of space wasted on the wall. Not much I can do about that. I only have 8-foot ceilings. The only other way I could really fix that is to actually move that projector closer. However, by doing that, I sacrifice size on the diagonal screen. In this case, I have such a big wall going sideways. Doing widescreen movies fits just fine. And the screen's somewhere about 150 inches diagonally. That's a pretty massive screen. See if you can find a plasma that'll do that. So let's come over here. I'm going to show you the network portion of this. This is up on the top of the window, just a little access point. I have the antenna pointed directly at the wireless router upstairs. It's a really nice unit. Upstairs the router has extra power going to the antenna. Make sure I always have a solid 54 megabits per second, which isn't really a true 54. It actually comes in around 39. And I have about a 40 megabit internet connection, so that works just fine. I have that cable come down, connects into the Blu-ray unit. I opted not to get wireless because I never trust the wireless on these Blu-ray units. I do, however, trust the equipment I get because I can at least configure it. Standard HDMI connects into the receiver, and then you'll see right here, this is an extra high gauge HDMI 30-foot cable, which will actually connect to that projector. Make sure that gauge was as high as possible because it needs to be in order to protect it from any kind of interference. I got some fiber optic there with the option for coaxial if I wish. Over here on the left and rights, here and here, as well as the center, I use high gauge again to get the best quality as possible. The rears, I leave the normal gauge in. And then up on the DVD player, Blu-ray player, I also have the fiber optic. These are just little short cables, no biggie. As for analog, I don't really use anything analog anymore, with the exception of my PlayStation 2, which is the only thing that's actually connected in here besides the Blu-ray player. I will be attaching in the home theater again eventually, and that'll go in this extra spot. Again, this is pass-through, so that means there is actually no input on the receiver I can actually utilize those for. It's just there for the in to put out 2 out. So 1 in, 2 out, and that's all it does. Alright, there's the home theater machine, just a Pentium 4, high definition video card, sound out. I don't use it anything for now, but it has the potential to pretty much do anything I want the Blu-ray player to do, except that I could play games and additional things on top of that. Or I could just use it as additional storage place just to host videos down here without having to use wireless if I want. If we follow these lines, this is those 30-foot cables, and they go and go and go. And you'll notice these things are heavy duty. I actually had to put in drywall mounting screws and then hold these suckers up with wire. They're actually weighing so much that they're almost pulling the projector out of the wall. In order to fix that, I had to create a system that would hold the wires for me to create this weightless loop right there. It does have a control panel down here. No need for that because I have a remote. You'll see here the HDMI connects there. I have a DVI there for high def on the home theater PC with the option for standard composite and component, and then S-video. I got a trigger port if I want to put in an automatic screen. My favorite part of this is my Harmony remote, which controls all this. One button, turn everything on. I have all the buttons assigned to different functions. It works great. Here's a close-up of the wiring for the speakers. Again, this is high gauge. That goes to the right speaker, goes to the center. Follow that around over here, center, left speaker. Make sure those are lined up with this person that is actually watching the movie. I have it set for both the couch and the beanbag. Alright guys, well that was the first video. It's just an overview of what's down here. Last little piece, screen. Not really a screen, it's actually a sheet. Well, 2 sheets. I didn't like the texture of the actual wall, so instead I put up a sheet to smooth out the screen and reflect the light better. And I will be building my own screen eventually. We'll get that another time. So that concludes davidwishmeyer.com, my projector room. Hopefully we'll have a better one next time.